Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I want to quickly share a concept that we're using called the Call Funnel 2.0, which is a newish version of, your typical call funnel, or you might call it a VSL call funnel to get qualified applicants and booked calls onto your sales team's calendar. This is Call Funnel 2.0, and we're actively using this on the majority of our ad agency clients' funnels right now when we're, at least for the clients that we're running ads for, using a call funnel. Historically, we've used the typical version of a call funnel that you would probably be thinking about where, and I'll actually draw this out for you, where, someone sees an ad, either an image or a video ad. Nowadays, a lot of people are using video ads because they build a lot of context before they click. And then when they click on that ad, they land on either an opt-in page or just a page without an opt-in where there is a headline, a VSL with the video, and then usually a button below that leads to an application that they would fill out that then leads them to your standard schedule call page where they're going to pick a time for the call, yada, yada, yada. And then they go to a thank you or a confirmation page with, again, headline and then probably a video on it and then some other content like testimonials or whatever else, right? Testimonials, FAQs, all below this video to warm them up more about the call. Now, the problem with this, and the problem that a lot of people are seeing right now with this model, is that everyone's having issues with show rate right now, especially from the cold traffic level. What I mean by from the cold traffic level is, the leads that are coming through, applying and booking a call onto the closers' calendars, they're coming from cold traffic, which means they're someone that doesn't really know the company or the face of the brand that well yet. Like they just saw maybe a 2-minute ad or a 60-second ad before clicking the link to go to the landing page, and then maybe watch a few more minutes of content at best, and then booking a call. Right? So the fundamental issue right now, it's September 2025 right now, the fundamental reason why everyone's struggling with show rate is because these people are coming from not even knowing the company or the offer, seeing a short video or maybe a few short videos, and then scheduling a call, which causes that call to be booked with not very high intent. Right? When I say not very high intent, what I mean is, if we look at this like a graph, this is interest. This side of the chart would be the level of interest. When people come through, they come through with some level of temperature of interest and awareness, right? When people come through with cold paid ads, if they don't watch a ton of content before scheduling that call, they're coming in with like half interest, like not super high level of interest. And that's not necessarily that much of a problem, because it's relatively difficult to get someone to come in from cold traffic at least, at an extremely high level of interest. Right? Like most marketers are not going to get people coming in like banging down the door, fully aware of everything and having watched 90 minutes of content before the booking if they're coming through a call funnel. Right? So what you normally see is when they come through, they're at this level of interest, and then after the call booking, not only is their interest level and their intent level not super high because they were from cold traffic, they're a cold audience member, but also when they come through and they book a call, their interest level falls off a cliff by the hour. There was actually an MIT study that I can provide you guys if you guys want it. I can go over it with you guys. There's an MIT study where MIT actually studied the drop off of interest like by the minute and by the hour, and how steeply the response rate of leads becomes every like 5 minutes and every hour when a salesperson doesn't reach out to them after they came through and fill out the lead form or booked the call, right? And so my point here is that the fundamental reason why people are struggling with show rate, with paid ads, when people come from cold traffic where they didn't watch your content for 6 months before booking the damn call, is because they're coming in at a lower, relatively low intent position, right? And they come through, they might book a call for 2 days from now, and then after they book the call, since their level of intent wasn't all the way up here, you know, their level of interest starts to dip off very quickly after they book that call. And then by the time your sales team calls them 2 days later to try to confirm that call and get them to show up, their interest level is down here at this level. And by this time, it's like, look, they have kids, they have their kids' soccer practice. They got to worry about the groceries. They got to worry about a business meeting or all these business meetings that are going on. By the time their interest level gets down here, to this point right here, the call that they just booked with you and your company is much lower in priority versus all the other things that have now taken priority to them because 2 whole days has passed. And by the way, since they were from cold traffic, their interest level was only like half baked to begin with. So this is where the call funnel 2.0 comes in and actually improves the show rate substantially to the actual closer call, and also improves the level of intent and the level of awareness and trust the lead has before they get on the closer call with the actual closers. And by the way, it also helps with calendar efficiency, meaning an example of very bad calendar efficiency is, let's say you have, for every single closer on your team, let's say they have 8 calls booked on their calendar, but only 3 of them are showing up at like I guess that's like a 40% show rate, and 1 or 2 of those 3 that show up are getting financially disqualified or are not that serious. So at best, they might close 1 deal per day on a good day out of those 3 that show up. The rest of those calls, all those 5 slots, are a waste of time, right? And on a normal day, they probably won't close any deals because they only had 3 shots and 1 or 2 of them were disqualified or didn't even have that much urgency, right? And it's all because we're letting people come through the funnel and book a call onto the closer's calendar with not that high of an intent and not that high of a level of awareness around the offer and the vehicle that you help them with, like the solution you help them with, and also not that high of a level of trust that is built with the company and the offer. This is the fundamental reason why. And by the way, like, we all know that there's a quote unquote trust recession happening right now, right? So that feeds into this even more. It's like, if we need to put more work into getting people to trust us and, you know, be comfortable with us and see us as an authority and someone that they can trust, then that causes it to be an issue times 2, right? So the solution that I found here is actually very simple. It's not complicated at all. There's plenty of people that are saying, okay, well, after they book the call, after they book a call, we need to hammer them with videos on Instagram and Facebook after they booked a call to warm them up, which you should absolutely do that. Totally agree, you should do that. They're also saying, and I also say this too, on the confirmation page, we should have, certain content on that confirmation page, such as FAQ videos and a bunch of testimonials and things that answer their questions in a very in-depth manner below that like on that confirmation page, which again, you should absolutely do that as well. And also you should email them a bunch of value-based emails, which you should also do that. And I still agree with that. You definitely should do that. That will also help with your show rate. But what I've found through trial and error and even doing all of this stuff is that these things are great and they can increase your show rate marginally by some percentage. But if the level of intent before the booking isn't super high and their level of awareness around your company and how you can solve their problem is not super high, then this stuff doesn't help that much because of the simple reason that I just described. When they decided to book the call, the intent behind the booking was the intent behind the booking wasn't as high of intent as the point of where they're saying, I understand what this company does. I trust this company has the authority about this, and I fully understand the program or the offer, and I fully understand this. And I like, if all of those things aren't super high, then they're coming in with not a high level enough of intent around the call booking itself to do a one call process, which the original version of this call funnel, we would call it a one call process, where people that come through and they fill out this application and book this call, they're booking straight onto the closer's calendar where the closer will take that call. That is called a one call process. The call funnel 2.0 is essentially, instead of sending everyone to the closer call directly, we're sending people to where they have to be vetted and triaged by a setter first. And I'm going to go into some nuances here now. Now, to be clear, there are some cons to this. There's some downsides to this you need to be aware of. Number one, if this is working, if this one call process is working, then don't change it. Right? You only want to change it if there's a bottleneck that needs to be had. Like if they're showing up to the closer call with awareness around the offer, if the majority of the leads are showing up with awareness, then don't change anything. Right? Because there's nothing to fix. This will just add friction to your funnel and cause your ROAS to go down in comparison if you add more steps to your funnel. So this shouldn't be implemented by everyone. This should be implemented only for people who are experiencing that people are going through the funnel and they're not watching a lot of content before deciding to book, and they're looking for more information when they book a call. When it makes sense to go to the call funnel 2.0 that I'm about to draw out for you in a second, it makes sense when your sales team is experiencing that people are showing up to the closing call, or they're showing up to the conversations with their closers with very little awareness. They're saying things like, I've never heard of this company before. I don't know, what do you guys even do? Right? Like, I don't remember what I booked this call for. Like if they're saying things like this, it means when they're booking the call, they're not booking the call with a level of intent where they know your solution can possibly help them. They understand your solution fairly in depth, etc. The easiest way to describe it is their awareness level is fairly low, and their intent level around the booking is fairly low. They're simply looking for more information. Your closers hate when people are showing up to these calls and just looking for more information, because the call needs to be extremely long to even have a chance of closing them on that one call if they're just looking for information. Right? And then a lot of people slip through also that are unqualified. Let's be honest. Like a lot of people lie on these applications. So anyway, I'm going to draw this out for you right now. The main difference is they can still come from an image or a video, just like I said, on the ad level. Okay? In this is a video symbol, by the way. The only difference literally is that they're going to book a call straight to the setters if they are actually going to book a call. So for this sake of this example, the landing page is the same headline, VSL, and there's an application below the VSL where they answer questions. Okay, and then if they seem like a qualified lead in the application, we're going to redirect them to a schedule page. Now, this is the main difference. Instead of with the closers, this is going to be a calendar that your setting team is on. So they're booking a call for either a 15-minute phone call or a 20-minute phone call. Not a Zoom call, a phone call with your setting team. And I'll explain why in a second. Okay, these are triage calls. These are not full-blown sales calls. This is mainly to do discovery, like meaning find out what their pain points are, why they respond to the ad at this moment, what their motivations are, what their what their problems are, like discovery, right? If you're watching this video, you should know what discovery is. It's like finding more, like fact finding more information. Okay, and they should be vetting them to see if they, number one, they're financially qualified. Number two, if they have any level of urgency to solve this problem, which is done in discovery. Number three, if they're qualified in terms of like if they're able to make a decision or who else needs to be involved with the decision, right? Those are the three main things that you need, the setters need to qualify them for on this triage call. Number one, do they have urgency or a painful problem that needs solved and that they actually want to solve? Number two, do they have the financial ability with either with funding, credit, or the cash on hand to be able to do it, or can they find the resources to do it? And number three, are they able to make a decision on their own, or who else needs to be involved in this conversation? And then those setters book them through a second calendar. The setters actually book the call for them on a second Calendly, like a designated Calendly or OneSub or Go High Level calendar that books them onto the closer's calendar. This is them booking them onto the closer's calendar. Okay. Now, the reason why this is a lot more efficient is, number one, this makes the calendar efficiency for the closers a lot higher because these people are, the triage call builds their intent more and they become more familiar with the brand. And they actually talk to a salesperson. They have way more touch points in this with this process. Okay. The other reason why is on this graph. Remember, one of the reasons why people don't show up is because salespeople often won't talk to them until at least hours after they booked the call, or maybe even a day or 2 days after, where their interest level's all the way down here now. But the reason why this is way better is because we teach our clients to not treat the triage calls that they're booking with setters as a scheduled call, quote unquote, that happens 2 days from now, right? And so what I mean by that is we want to meet them right at their level of interest. So if their level of interest is like halfway up when they come through, we want the setters to text them and call them immediately when they come through, even if their triage call is booked for 2 days out. Why? Well, it's because if you call them, if you text them and then double dial them, by the way, always text before you call. Just a side note. The likelihood of someone picking up the phone when one of your sales reps calls them is much higher if they text them first, because if a random number calls you, most people don't pick up the phone to a random number. The point here is when they come through, whether they applied and booked a call or not, we want to text and then call them right away, like within minutes, because we're meeting them where they're at in terms of their level of interest. Their interest level is still here instead of down here. Okay? Now, so that's the first purpose. The second reason why all the leads need to be contacted as soon as possible by the setting team, whether they booked a call with the setters for a triage call or not, is because it collapses the time of the sales cycle. The main reason why this 2-call process adds friction is because there's 2 chances for a lead to no-show. So it adds a lot more steps to the funnel. All right. But if we can collapse this time down by calling them right away, instead of waiting until Tuesday to do the 15-minute or 20-minute phone call, if we can get them on the phone now, we can just cancel the triage call for Tuesday and then just book them in straight away for the closer call on Friday. Or the closer call for the same day, not for Friday, right? And so if they book the call, so let's say today's Monday, the lead comes through, they book a call with a setter. The call is scheduled for Wednesday at 3 p.m. with the setter. The setting team does not wait until Wednesday to try to talk to them on the phone for that call. The setting team, the setter, the sales rep texts them. They should be texted and then called right away, and then called several times, at least 3 times within that first 24 hours to try to get them on a phone call right now. If the person responds, it's like, hey Bob, it's Nick from blah, blah, blah company. I saw you booked a call with me for Wednesday. I had a few minutes right now. Just wanted to save you the time. Do you have 5 minutes to talk now instead? We can make it a lot faster for you. I have a few questions to see if this is going to be a good fit for you based on what we do here. And then worst case scenario, they just say, no, I can't talk right now. And then you either move the triage call to the next day, or that you just use the original time. You use the scheduled triage call with the setter as a backup time. But if I can get that lead on the phone right now and do the triage call and see if they're qualified or not, I just removed 2 whole days from the sales process and almost effectively just made it a 1-call process too, because I removed that whole 2 days of sales cycle time. I've collapsed time. And I've given my sales team the ability to meet the lead where they're at in terms of their high interest level. We're striking the iron while it's hot, because we're going to call the lead as soon as possible after they come through the application, whether they booked a call or not, because their interest level's up here. Okay? I hope this is making sense. What this has been able to do for us is a few things. Number one, like I said, our calendar efficiency is much more efficient, because out of 6 or 8 calls that are on the closer's calendar, the calls that are on the calendar are much higher quality. So the quality of the closer's life has substantially improved with this process, because they don't have to chase leads down to try to get them to show up and answer and respond, right? So the level of intent is higher. Also, the lead quality is higher. So the fact that we're requiring people to be sent through a setter first, the setter is able to fairly easily filter these people out and see who's probably a good fit or who's not a good fit. It's much harder to do that just with a Typeform application, for example, because people lie on Typeform applications. You can't really talk to the person or see get a temp check on if this person's a good personality or if they're willing to invest, etc. So long story short, it's made the ability of the closers to be more consistent. It's improved that for us and for our ad agency clients that are using this process now. And it also enables you to have less closers. With this 2-call process, you're going to have more of an even amount of setters to closers. So for example, if you have 2 closers, you're probably going to have 2 setters, not 1 setter to 3 or 4 closers, because a bunch of them are direct booking onto the closer's calendar. In this process, it's going to be much more even. Okay, and the other thing that you need to be aware of if you test this and if you implement this is the bottleneck with a 2-call process shifts from the closers more so onto the setters, because if the setters are bad and they're not well trained, there's a huge bottleneck in the point of the setter call, and no one makes it to the closer's call. So if you implement this, I want to let you know ahead of time, you have to do this carefully, and you want to kind of transition slowly into this. If you do this and your setters are not really trained well yet, you should transition into it where only some people can direct book on the calendar to the closers directly, and then lower quality applicants have to book to the setters first to talk to the setters. And then once you're confident that the setters are really good and that the closers are closing a lot of the people that the setters set, then you can start to transition more and more of them until you're at 100% of all your applicants going straight through the setters first, where they have to triage all of them. And your cost per closer call is going to go up by some percentage, but the quality of those closer calls are going to be much higher from what I'm seeing across several clients that we've implemented this for. Okay. Now I want to give you some KPIs here for the 2-call process. If I was doing a 1-call process, my KPI for cost per book call would be 1/10 of my target CPA, which is my target cost per acquisition based on ad spend. So if my CPA target is $2K, with a 1-call process, I would want my cost per booked call to the closers to be $200 or below, ideally, with a 1-call process, because I expect the show rate to be lower, and I also expect the close rate to be lower if people are booking directly to the closers from a 1-call process. Okay, I'll do one call. For a 2-call process, and I apologize for my bad handwriting. This pen is awful because I'm using my mouse. For a 2-call process, I use 1/5 or 20% of the target CPA. So if the target CPA is $2K, I want my cost per closer call to be $400 or lower, ideally. Okay, this is simple math that enables you to hold your team accountable and also just understand what your cost per call needs to be, right? The reason why, like the way I get this math to be 20%, which is 1 out of 5 or 20%. This basically, by the way, this just means that 1 out of 5 of the people that get booked to the closer call should close. Not 1 out of 5 people that show up to the closer call from the 2-call process. 1 out of 5 people who get booked onto the closer's calendar, whether they show up or not, is the KPI. Because those calls should be much higher levels. The intent level should be higher because they talked to a setter. They did a full 20-minute triage call. They got qualified. And by the way, between the setting call and the time of the closing call, they should be watching content between there, right? And the setter should be making sure they accept the calendar invite, all this stuff. Long story short, we can have much more control over the intent and the quality of the closer call. So with a 2-call process, 1 out of 5 booked calls should be closing. Again, not 1 out of 5 closer calls that show up. It's 1 out of 5 calls that get booked in general. Okay? $400 cost per call times 5 would be a $2,000 CPA. Okay? Now, the math to get you to this 20% call booked to closer to closing rate is after they get booked from a setter with your 2-call process, you should have at least a 70% show rate. Okay, and you should have at least a 30% close rate from the 2-call process. Again, close rate in this case, I'm just talking about the percentage of people that show up to the closer call, which is call number 2 here, technically. 30% of the calls that show up to that closer call should close. If you hit 70% show rate, and if you hit a 30% close rate for the closer call, that actually gets you a 21% rate, which is actually a little bit higher than my 20% target here. This actually gets you to 21. Okay, because if you have 100 calls booked, 70% show rate means that 70 out of 100 show up. 30% of 70, let's see here, 30 divided 70 times 30 equals, 70 times 0.3 equals 21. That means 21 out of 100 calls booked to closers should have closed. So if you hit these numbers here, which you should be able to hit at least this if you're doing a 2-call process, then you can easily reverse engineer what your closer call cost needs to be. Again, in this case, I would target a $400 cost per closer call. So all this math makes sense. Okay. I hope this makes sense. This has helped a lot with the consistency of the closers, as well as just the overall efficiency. I've seen CPA drop with this process in recent times, just because of a lot of these funnels are getting people to book from cold traffic, but their intent level is not that high, right? And you can do one of two things. You can either do this, or you can figure out a way to get that intent level when they book the call straight from cold traffic to be very, very high, which just takes really, 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 really good marketing, right? Because the person didn't know you. It probably takes a long form VSL, right? This is why when people come from a webinar, like they get on a live webinar for 90 minutes, you don't send them to a 2-call process. You send them to a 1-call process, because by the end of the webinar, their trust level and intent level is super high. So you don't send them to a 2-call. You send them after the webinar. You have them book in to a 1-call process straight to closer, because their intent level and interest level is way up here, right? They're essentially like literally they're laydown deals. They're layups, because of the sheer level of intent after they sat on a live webinar with the founder of the company or whoever the main person is for 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever the case may be, right? But generally speaking, if you're using a VSL call funnel or just a regular call funnel, getting the intent level to start up here when they actually book the call is relatively difficult. The easier way to accomplish a better CPA and a more efficient funnel is not to try to get the intent level that high, because it takes such a high level of marketing. It's to simply meet them here and vet them. Just get in contact with them way sooner and then vet them out and warm them up through a sales conversation. This is the easier way to do it. This is what I found as a marketer. And I'm saying this as a marketer. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best. I'm a good copywriter, but I'm not the best copywriter on planet Earth. Getting someone to book a call with this level intent is relatively very difficult. And in 2025, when trust is at a all-time low because everyone got scammed with different offers and shit like that, right? The higher probability strategy for success is the 2-call process if you're experiencing people showing up and booking calls with low levels of intent and having low show rate because of a low level of intent and a low level of awareness. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. This has helped us and our clients a ton. Again, I can't stress it enough. Identify the actual bottleneck of your funnel before implementing this. I can't stress that enough. Like, if your current funnel is a 1-call funnel that's working and all you need to do is spend more money and scale, don't be one of those people that changes the whole funnel because you watched Nick Mullen's YouTube video and then you bring it to your team and you make your team change the entire freaking funnel. That's the last thing you should do. But you should test this and ease into this and get this running if you actually do have a bottleneck that needs solved, like I mentioned. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk soon.